Greg, an esteemed team leader in one of the biggest real estate companies in Colorado, is known for his work ethic and ambition. His social circle is packed with huge names that have brought him several promotions in his career. One day, he paces the living room, his suitcases packed and ready. His brow is furrowed, not with the love and pride he should have felt for his family, but with the weight of an offer that promises professional advancement. Greg has been given an opportunity to work abroad. To him, this is a chance to cement his career. But to Stephanie, his wife, it is the final nail in the coffin of their already fragile relationship. "Greg, this isn't just about your career," Stephanie pleads, her voice trembling. "It's about us. It's about Jasmine. You're barely here as it is. If you leave, I'm afraid we'll lose you forever." Greg scoffs, waving off her concerns with a dismissive hand. "We're living a good life because of my hard work, Stephanie. Don't you get that? Everything we have is because I bust my ass every day. You should be grateful." Tears well up in Stephanie's eyes. "I am grateful, Greg, but Jasmine needs her father. I need my husband. We need more than just financial stability. We need you. You're here, but it feels like you're a ghost." Stephanie's voice cracks, her desperation evident. "Please reconsider. Stay with us. Help us rebuild our family. Jasmine is growing up without a father figure." Greg's expression remains cold and indifferent. "I'm doing this for us. I'm doing this for Jasmine. She'll thank me when she grows up and realizes how much I sacrificed." With that, he grabs his suitcase and heads for the door. Stephanie can only sob, the sound of her heartbreak echoing through the empty hallways. Meanwhile, outside in the garden, Jasmine, their 6-year-old daughter, plays joyously amidst the blooming flowers. Her bright blue eyes sparkle at the sight of her father, while her golden locks dance in the breeze as she runs toward Greg. But her laughter comes to an abrupt halt as she sees him walking towards the car, suitcases in tow. "Daddy!" she calls out, her voice filled with excitement. She hasn't seen much of him in months due to Greg's frequent out-of-town trips, and the prospect of spending even a few moments with him fills her with joy. "Daddy, are you going on a trip? Can I come with you? Look at this butterfly I caught." Greg barely glances at her. "Be nice to your mom, Jasmine. I'm going to work to get you all the nice things you want." Confusion clouds Jasmine's eyes. She tugs at his sleeve, desperate for his attention. "But Daddy, can you stay and play with me? Just for a little while?" Greg sighs, his patience wearing thin. "I don't have time, Jasmine. I have to go." As he loads the last suitcase into the car, Jasmine's excitement melts away, replaced by worry and fear. She feels the gravity of the moment, even if she can't fully understand it. Her father is leaving, and something deep inside her whispers that this time, it is different. "Daddy?" she calls again, her voice small and trembling. Greg finally looks at her, but his face is devoid of warmth. "I have to go, Jasmine. Be a good girl." He hurriedly goes into the car, oblivious to the tears streaming down his daughter's face. The car engine roars to life, and he drives away without a backward glance, leaving Jasmine standing in the driveway, clutching her butterfly net. She watches the car disappear down the street, a feeling of profound loss settling over her young heart. As the days turn into weeks, Jasmine's once vibrant laughter is replaced by a somber silence. She misses her father deeply, but even more, she misses the idea of what he should have been to her. Stephanie tries her best to fill the void, showering her daughter with love and attention, but the absence of Greg is a shadow that looms over them both. Every evening, Stephanie reaches for her phone with a hopeful sigh, dialing Greg's number only to be met with the familiar, disheartening tone of his voicemail. "Hi, this is Greg. I can't take your call right now. Please leave a message." She tries video calling him too, but her screen stays empty and her calls unanswered. His text messages were brief and impersonal, always a variation of the same excuse. "In a business meeting, can't talk right now." Weeks blur into months, and before she knows it, a year has passed. Stephanie's worst fears are realized. Greg has become a ghost in their lives, more present in his absence than he ever was when he was home. Sometimes, in the quiet moments of the night, she struggles to remember the sound of his voice. She laughs bitterly, thinking that the bank notifications of money being transferred to her account are more familiar than her husband's terse messages. One evening, as the golden hues of the sunset cast a warm glow over their cozy living room, Jasmine tugs at Stephanie's sleeve, her innocent eyes brimming with tears. "Mommy, why isn't Daddy around? Doesn't he love us anymore?" Stephanie's heart aches at the sight of her daughter's sorrow. She pulls Jasmine into her lap, gently caressing her tear-streaked face. "Sweetheart, Daddy loves us very much. He's just working very hard to make sure we have everything we need." "But why can't he come home? I miss him," Jasmine whispers, her small voice cracking. Stephanie kisses Jasmine's forehead, her own eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I know, darling. I miss him too. But we're going to be okay. We're going to be as happy as we can be, just the two of us. We'll make our own fun and create beautiful memories together." Jasmine sniffles, but manages a small smile. "Promise? Promise," Stephanie says firmly, hugging her daughter tightly. Everything is going to be fine. As Jasmine drifts off to sleep, comforted by her mother's promise, Stephanie remains in the dimly lit room, thoughtful and pensive. The house is filled with a poignant silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves outside or the distant hum of traffic. She looks around their home, at the framed photos on the mantelpiece, each one a testament to happier times. Stephanie stands up and wanders through the house, her fingers trailing along the walls as if trying to capture fragments of the past. She pauses by the kitchen table, where they used to have family dinners, Greg's laughter filling the room as he shared stories from work. The empty chair at the head of the table now seems like a void that swallowed all the warmth and joy they once knew. She wanders to the living room, her eyes lingering on the worn-out couch where they used to cuddle and watch movies. The silence is deafening, the absence of Greg's presence a constant reminder of the chasm that has grown between them. Her thoughts drift to the days when their love is vibrant and full of promise. She remembers their long walks in the park, hand in hand, talking about their dreams and future. She remembers the nights they stayed up late, whispering sweet nothings and planning for the family they wanted to build. Now, those dreams feel like distant echoes, fading into the cold reality of their current situation. The man she once knew, who filled her life with laughter and love, has become a stranger. His priorities have shifted, and somewhere along the way, they have lost each other. With a heavy heart, Stephanie walks to the window and gazes out into the night. The stars twinkle brightly, indifferent to the turmoil in her heart. She wonders if Greg ever looks at the same stars, if he ever thinks about the family waiting for him back home. As the months continue to pass, Stephanie finds strength in her resolve to keep their lives as normal as possible for Jasmine. She throws herself into creating a happy environment, organizing playdates, helping with school projects, and celebrating holidays with enthusiasm. She refuses to let the absence of Greg overshadow their lives entirely. But every night, when the world is quiet and Jasmine is asleep, loneliness would creep in. Stephanie would lie in bed, staring at the empty space beside her, tears silently falling as she grapples with the ghost of her husband's presence. She yearns for the man who once promised her the world, who held her hand through thick and thin. One evening, as she tucks Jasmine into bed, the little girl looks up at her with wide, earnest eyes. "Mommy, do you think Daddy will ever come home?" Stephanie's heart clenches, but she forces a smile. "I hope so, sweetheart. I really do. But no matter what, we have each other, and that's what matters the most." Jasmine nods, her trust in her mother unwavering. "I love you, Mommy." "I love you too, my angel," Stephanie whispers, pressing a kiss to her daughter's forehead. The night is silent as Stephanie stands by the window once more, gazing at the stars. She whispers a silent prayer, hoping that somewhere, Greg will find his way back to them. And as the stars continue to shine, she holds on to the belief that love, no matter how distant, could find its way home. Unfortunately, Stephanie's prayers are unanswered, and her hopes are continuously crushed. Despite her efforts, another year has passed by, without any evident attempt from Greg to keep in touch, aside from the scheduled money disbursements in her account. The once vibrant dreams they share have withered, leaving only the cold, mechanical routine of financial transactions. One crisp autumn afternoon, as the golden leaves swirl outside. Stephanie watches her daughter, Jasmine, sitting at the kitchen table, diligently working on her homework. The soft light of the setting sun bathes the room in a warm glow, but a shadow of uncertainty lingers in Stephanie's heart. She takes a deep breath, gathering the courage to ask the question that had been gnawing at her for months. "Jasmine," she begins softly, "how do you feel now that Daddy isn't around?" Jasmine pauses, her pencil hovering over the page. She looks up at her mother with wide, thoughtful eyes and then shrugs, a faint smile forming on her lips. "I'm okay with it, Mommy." Stephanie's heart aches at the simplicity of her daughter's acceptance. "Really, sweetheart?" Jasmine nods, her smile growing brighter. "As long as I have you, I'm fine. We can be as happy as we can be, just the two of us." Tears well up in Stephanie's eyes, but she blinks them away, reaching out to caress Jasmine's cheek. "I love you so much, Jasmine." "I love you too, Mommy," Jasmine replies, her eyes shining with unwavering trust. That night, as Jasmine sleeps peacefully, Stephanie sits by her bedroom window, the moon casting a silvery light on her face. She has been holding on to a fragile thread of hope for far too long, but Jasmine's words have given her the clarity she needs. It is time to let go of the past and build a future free from Greg's ghostly presence. The next morning, Stephanie wakes up with a sense of purpose. She dresses in her most professional attire, her determination reflected in her steely gaze. She calls her lawyer's office and schedules an appointment, the resolve in her voice surprising even herself. Later that day, Stephanie walks into the office of Mr. Craig, a seasoned divorce lawyer. The walls are lined with bookshelves filled with legal tomes, and the air is thick with the scent of polished wood. Mr. Craig, a gray-haired man with kind eyes, greets her warmly and gestures for her to sit. "Stephanie, it's good to see you," he says, his voice gentle but firm. "What can I do for you today?" Stephanie takes a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I want to file for divorce, Mr. Craig. I can't keep living like this. It's time for Jasmine and me to move on." Mr. Craig nods, his expression serious as he listens intently. "I understand. Let's go over your legal rights and what you and Jasmine can expect after the divorce is finalized." He lays out the legal framework, explaining every detail with clarity and compassion. Stephanie absorbs the information, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. Mr. Craig reassures her that the process will be straightforward, especially since Greg has essentially abandoned the marriage first. With determination in her eyes, Stephanie reaches out and shakes Mr. Craig's hand. "Thank you, Mr. Craig. I'm looking forward to a better future for me and Jasmine." Mr. Craig smiles, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. "You're making a brave decision, Stephanie. I have no doubt that you and Jasmine will thrive." As Stephanie leaves the lawyer's office, she feels a weight lift from her shoulders. The autumn breeze is crisp and invigorating, carrying with it a promise of new beginnings. She walks with a newfound confidence, her steps purposeful and strong. When she returns home, Jasmine greets her with a hug, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Mommy, did everything go okay?" Stephanie kneels down, looking into her daughter's eyes with a reassuring smile. "Yes, sweetheart. Everything went fine. We're going to be just fine." Jasmine grins, wrapping her arms around her mother. "I knew we would be." That night, as they sit together on the couch, the warmth of the fireplace casting a cozy glow around them, Stephanie feels a sense of peace she hasn't known in years. She looks at Jasmine, her heart swells with love and pride. "We're going to be okay, Jasmine," she whispers, her voice steady and sure. "We have each other, and that's all we need." As the flames dance in the hearth and the world outside settles into the quiet of the night, Stephanie and Jasmine hold each other close. They are ready to face whatever the future holds, knowing that together they can overcome anything. And for the first time in a long time, Stephanie feels truly hopeful, her heart light and free. Just as Mr. Craig has promised, the divorce is settled smoothly and quickly, with no resistance from Greg. This effortless resolution should have brought relief, but it crushed Stephanie's heart. She stares at the finalized papers, feeling a profound emptiness. The silence of Greg's indifference is more deafening than any argument could have been. It is as if their years together have vanished like a mirage. One rainy afternoon, Stephanie finds herself standing by the window, watching the droplets race down the glass. The house is quiet, save for the distant hum of Jasmine playing in her room. She clutches the divorce decree, her fingers trembling. A single tear escaped, tracing a path down her cheek. "Why weren't we worth fighting for?" she whispers to herself, her voice barely audible over the patter of the rain. Just then, Jasmine appears in the doorway, her eyes wide with curiosity and concern. "Mommy, are you okay?" she asks, her voice tender and innocent. Stephanie quickly wipes her tears away and turns to face her daughter, forcing a smile. "Yes, sweetie. Mommy's just thinking about some things." Jasmine walks over and hugs her tightly, her small arms providing the comfort that Stephanie desperately needs. "I love you, Mommy," she says softly. "I love you too, Jasmine," Stephanie replies, her voice breaking slightly. She kneels down to look into her daughter's eyes, filled with so much hope and trust. "And that's why I've made some changes. We deserve to be happy and feel secure. It's just you and me now, and we will make the best of it." Jasmine nods, her face lighting up with a smile. "We can do it, Mommy. We're strong, right?" "Yes, we are," Stephanie says, feeling her resolve strengthen. She realizes that her daughter's happiness is worth every struggle and every tear. Greg's absence no longer feels like a void, but a space where new, beautiful memories could be made. Weeks pass, and Stephanie begins to rebuild their lives with unwavering determination. The townhouse in Fort Collins starts to feel like a real home again. The garden where Jasmine plays is now filled with blooming flowers, their colors vibrant against the backdrop of their fresh start. One evening, as the sun dips below the horizon, casting a golden glow over their small yet cozy home, Stephanie and Jasmine sit on the porch. They sip hot chocolate, wrapped in warm blankets, and watch the fireflies dance in the twilight. "Mommy, do you remember when Daddy used to be here?" Jasmine asks suddenly, her eyes reflecting the flickering lights of the fireflies. Stephanie takes a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "Yes, I do, Jasmine, but you know what? We have each other now, and we are making wonderful new memories together." Jasmine nods thoughtfully. "I miss him sometimes, but I like our time together too." Stephanie hugs her daughter close, the warmth of their bond shielding them from the cool evening air. "It's okay to miss him, Jasmine, but always remember, we are a family, and our love is what makes us strong." As they sit there, wrapped in the comfort of each other's presence, Stephanie feels a profound sense of peace. The pain of the past still lingers, but it no longer controls her. Instead, it has become a part of their story, a chapter that has led them to this moment of quiet contentment. The divorce, once a source of heartbreak, has transformed into a beacon of hope. It signals a new beginning for Stephanie and Jasmine, a chance to create a life filled with joy, love, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her daughter. As the fireflies continue their dance and the stars begin to twinkle in the night sky, Stephanie whispers a silent promise to herself and to Jasmine. They will move forward, together, their hearts intertwined with a love that no distance or absence can ever diminish. And with that promise, Stephanie feels the weight of the past lift, replaced by the lightness of a hopeful, beautiful future. In the years that follow, Jasmine grows up with the memory of that day etched in her mind. She carries the pain of her father's departure like a scar, hidden beneath her cheerful exterior. Despite the hurt, she finds solace in the loving embrace of her mother, who has become both a parent and best friend to her. Greg's career soars to great heights abroad, but success exacts a heavy toll. It is only when his health begins to falter that he grasps the true cost of his relentless ambition. Loneliness and regret gnaw at him, and he finds himself yearning for the family he had once so easily cast aside. Years later, an older and frailer Greg returns to Fort Collins, the place that had once been his home. Standing before the townhouse, he is struck by the sight of the garden, now more vibrant and beautiful than he remembers. This makes him question all of his past decisions of leaving such a haven to chase something of less importance. Greg stands there, frozen, the memories of his downfall playing vividly in his mind. It had all begun one seemingly ordinary day in his luxurious Parisian home. The sun filtered through the grand windows, casting a golden glow on the polished floors as he prepared for another busy day. But as he adjusted his tie, a sudden, searing pain gripped his chest. His heart raced, and panic set in. Desperately, he fumbled for his phone, his vision blurring as he struggled to dial for help. Minutes felt like hours as he finally managed to call an ambulance. The paramedics arrived just in time, whisking him away to the hospital. But the delay had already done its damage. A heart attack was followed by a stroke, leaving the left side of his body partially paralyzed. The once invincible Greg found himself in a sterile hospital room, surrounded by beeping machines and the sterile scent of antiseptic. He spent months in rigorous therapy, fighting to regain control over his body. Though he eventually returned to a semblance of normalcy, his left arm and hand never regained their full strength. As he struggled with physical recovery, Greg soon discovered another blow to his health: a weakened immune system. The doctors shook their heads, attributing it to years of neglect and stress. His once ironclad constitution had crumbled under the weight of his relentless ambition. Back at work, the change was palpable. His colleagues, superiors, and clients all noticed the decline in his performance. The vibrant, sharp-witted leader was now a shadow of his former self. Meanwhile, fresh and promising talents filled the ranks of the company, their youthful energy a stark contrast to Greg's weary presence. He could feel his once unassailable position slipping through his fingers. Within a couple of years, the inevitable happened. Greg's prized position and fame within the company faded away like a distant echo. Despite his efforts to maintain his status, his body betrayed him, and age was not on his side. One day, he was called into a meeting where he was unceremoniously informed that his services were no longer needed. His heart sank as he packed up his office, the walls of his once dominant empire closing in on him. Forced to work for a small company, Greg watched his luxurious lifestyle slip away. The grandeur of Parisian living was replaced with modest accommodations, his savings funneled into a seemingly endless array of medications and treatments. The opulence of his former life bid him farewell, leaving him with a stark reminder of his mortality. Back in Fort Collins at the present time, Greg stands in front of the vibrant garden. His thoughts are interrupted by the sound of laughter. He looks up to see Jasmine, now a teenager, tending to the flowers with a joy that is both familiar and haunting. Her laughter echoes through the air, a bittersweet reminder of the family he had once taken for granted. "Dad?" Jasmine's voice breaks through his reverie, filled with a mixture of surprise and uncertainty. Greg's heart tightens. "Yes, Jasmine, it's me," he replies, his voice heavy with emotion. He takes a step forward, feeling the weight of his past mistakes pressing down on him. Jasmine studies him, her blue eyes filled with a depth that belies her years. "Why are you here?" she asks, her voice steady but edged with hurt. "I've made so many mistakes," Greg admits, tears welling up in his eyes. "I chased success and neglected what truly mattered. I'm here to make amends if you'll let me." Jasmine's gaze softens slightly, but the pain remains. "You hurt Mom and me. You left us," she says, her voice trembling. "Do you even know how hard it was?" Greg nods, his tears falling freely now. "I know I did, and I'm so sorry. I can't change the past, but I want to be here now. I want to be part of your life if you'll have me." Silence hangs between them, thick with unspoken emotions. Jasmine takes a deep breath, her eyes searching his. "You can't just come back and expect everything to be okay," she says, her voice firm but gentle. Before Greg can respond, the front door of the townhouse swings open, and Stephanie steps out to check on her daughter. Spotting a man from a distance, her protective instincts flare up. She rushes toward Jasmine, ready to shield her. However, as she draws closer, recognition dawns on her. The man's once sharp features are now cloaked in an unkempt beard, his eyes dull and weary. Those blue eyes, now lacking their former spark, reveal his identity. "Greg?" Stephanie gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. "Why? How?" Words escape her as a whirlwind of emotions overwhelms her. Jasmine, standing between her parents, feels the tension rising. The pain in her eyes mirrors the same blue eyes she inherited from her father. She breaks the silence, her voice trembling with unresolved hurt. "Go away, Dad." Stephanie squeezes her daughter's hand gently and offers a reassuring smile. They exchange a look, a silent conversation only a mother and daughter can share. Jasmine, understanding her mother's silent plea, sighs and retreats into the house. Stephanie turns back to Greg, her expression softening. "Come in, Greg. You look like you need to rest." Surprised and overwhelmed, Greg nods, tears threatening to spill. He limps slightly as he walks through the gate she opens for him. Stephanie's heart aches as she watches him, remembering the man she once loved who had been driven by relentless ambition. Inside the house, the atmosphere is thick with unspoken words. Greg sinks into a chair, the weight of years and regrets settling heavily on his shoulders. Stephanie stands nearby, her mind racing with memories and questions. She finally speaks, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "Greg, why are you here?" Greg looks up, his eyes brimming with sorrow. "I've made so many mistakes, Steph. I lost sight of what really mattered. When my health started to fail, I realized how empty my life had become without you and Jasmine." Stephanie listens, her heart torn between lingering resentment and deep-seated empathy. "You left us, Greg. Do you know how hard it's been for Jasmine, for me?" "I know," Greg whispers, his voice breaking. "I thought success would bring happiness, but it only brought loneliness. I'm so sorry, Stephanie. I want to make things right if I can." Stephanie takes a deep breath, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's not that simple, Greg. Jasmine has grown up without you. She's learned to be strong, but she's also built walls to protect herself from the hurt you caused." Greg nods, the weight of his regrets pressing down on him. "I understand. I don't expect forgiveness right away. I just want a chance to be part of your lives again." Stephanie takes a deep breath, her eyes steely with resolve as she begins. "Greg, this is a tall order. It took me years to get over you. The love I had for you shattered the day you signed the divorce papers without even a word. That indifference was a dagger to my heart, and it became the driving force for me to move on. And I did, Greg. I've been free for years now, and I've never been happier, especially with Jasmine around." Each word Stephanie spoke feels like a knife twisting in Greg's heart, but he remains silent, absorbing the pain he has caused. She continues, her voice softer, but no less firm. "Greg, if there is one thing I've learned in life, it's that holding on to remorse only weighs you down. So I've forgiven you. There's no resentment left in me, but it's different for Jasmine. She was so young when you left. Every year I've watched her try to bury the pain you caused." "I'm sorry," Greg whispers, the words barely escaping his lips. Stephanie moves closer and sits beside him, her gaze piercing into his soul. "You are still her father, Greg. If you truly want to make amends, I won't stop you. But we won't be a family like before. This is for Jasminito, help her process her grief and free herself from resentment. I'm allowing you to visit and meet her whenever you want, but we won't force her to accept you. We'll let her heart heal in its own time." Greg nods, his voice choked with emotion. "Yes, I understand." As Stephanie's words hang in the air, Greg feels the full weight of his choices pressing down on him. The room seems to shrink around him, the walls closing in with the enormity of what he has lost. He had once been so sure of his path, so confident in his pursuit of success. But now, sitting here in the home that had once been his, he realizes that the true measure of his life is not in his achievements, but in the love he had forsaken. Outside, the twilight is casting long shadows over the garden, the vibrant flowers beginning to close for the night. He looks at Stephanie, seeing not just the woman he had once loved, but the strength and resilience that had carried her through his absence. Stephanie stands up, the conversation clearly taking its toll on her. "I'll call Jasmine." Greg's heart races as he waits, each second stretching into an eternity. He hears soft footsteps and then sees Jasmine, her blue eyes a mixture of curiosity and guardedness. She has grown so much, yet she still has the same innocent face that had looked up at him with hope all those years ago. "Dad?" she says tentatively. "Yes?" Greg whispers, his voice soft. the word hanging in the air like a fragile thread. Greg stood, his eyes misting over. "Yes, Jasmine, it's me." There was a moment of silence, a delicate balance of emotions hanging in the air. Jasmine takes a deep breath, her voice steady but her eyes betraying the pain she has been carrying. "Mom said you could visit, but I need time to understand all this." Greg nods, swallowing the lump in his throat. "I understand, Jasmine. I'm here whenever you're ready." Stephanie places a reassuring hand on Jasmine's shoulder, guiding her back into her room. Greg watches them, feeling a bittersweet mix of hope and sorrow. He knows the road ahead will be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time in years, he feels a glimmer of something he has almost forgotten: hope. With a heavy heart but a newfound determination, Greg vows to earn his place in his daughter's life, to prove that he can be the father she needs. The journey will be slow and painful, but for Jasmine, he will face it all. Because in the end, it is the love and connection with his family that truly matters. Greg finds a small apartment just a few blocks from Stephanie and Jasmine's townhouse. Determined to rebuild his life and his relationship with his daughter, he scours the city for a new job. After weeks of searching, he finally secures a position as a supervisor in a startup real estate company. The CEO, young and ambitious, values Greg's experience, believing it can help elevate the company. This new role reignites a drive in Greg, but it is different this time. It isn't about fame or fortune. It is about proving to Jasmine that he can be a decent father and a dependable man. Every day, Greg visits Jasmine, helping her tend the garden. He finds solace in the simple tasks of planting and watering, finding a quiet joy in watching the flowers bloom. One afternoon, as Greg strolls through the bustling streets, his attention is drawn to a quaint flower shop. The vibrant blooms in the window display seem to beckon him, but it is the daffodils, with their bright yellow petals, that truly captivated him. They stand out like little suns, radiating warmth and hope. Intrigued, Greg steps inside. The shop is filled with the sweet fragrance of fresh flowers, and the shelves are lined with pots of colorful blooms. Behind the counter stands an elderly woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile, her hair a soft silver. She looks like someone who has seen many seasons come and go, someone who understands the language of flowers. "Good afternoon," she greets him warmly. "I noticed you were admiring the daffodils. Would you like to take some bulbs home? They seem to have caught your eye for a reason." Greg, somewhat puzzled, asks, "Why do you say that? Why these flowers?" The grandmotherly shop owner chuckles softly, her eyes twinkling with wisdom. "Daffodils symbolize new beginnings," she explains. "And you, my dear, look like someone who is on the verge of starting anew." Greg laughs, a bit taken aback by her perceptiveness. "That's quite the sales strategy you have there," he says with a smile. "But you know what? I'll take some. They'll be perfect for my daughter's garden." The old woman nods approvingly as she carefully selects the bulbs and wraps them in a delicate paper. "Gardens have a way of healing hearts," she says softly. "I hope these daffodils bring you and your daughter much joy." Greg leaves the shop with the bulbs in hand, feeling a strange mix of anticipation and warmth. He can't wait to share the story with Jasmine and plant the daffodils together, hoping that, just like the flowers, their relationship will blossom into something beautiful and new. One day, with a sense of pride, he shows Jasmine the daffodil sprouts he had planted weeks earlier. His face beams with happiness, a wide grin spreading from ear to ear. "Look, Jasmine, they're finally growing," Greg exclaims, his voice filled with a childlike excitement. Jasmine kneels beside him, her eyes wide with amazement. "They're beautiful, Dad. You did a great job." Greg's heart swells with fulfillment as he sees the genuine admiration in Jasmine's eyes. The daffodils, with their bright yellow blooms, stand as a testament to his efforts and growth. Meanwhile, Stephanie watches from the window, her heart swelling with a mixture of relief and joy. She observes the way Jasmine now looks at Greg no longer with the whirlwind of emotions that once clouded her eyes, but with a growing acceptance and warmth. Stephanie smiles, seeing the dirt smudged on Greg's face and clothes, and the way Jasmine's eyes light up at the sight of the daffodils. It is a simple yet profound moment of connection between father and daughter. She silently prays that, just like the daffodils symbolizing new beginnings, Jasmine's heart will find peace and forgiveness, allowing their relationship to renew and blossom. One evening, after a long day at work, Greg returns to the garden, finding Jasmine already there, watering the flowers. He joins her, and as they work side by side, he feels a sense of contentment he hasn't known in years. "Jasmine," he begins, his voice soft, "I know I can't change the past, but I want you to know that I'm here now. I'm trying my best to make up for the time we lost." Jasmine looks at him, her blue eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "I know, Dad, and I can see it. I'm glad you're here." Greg reaches out and gently squeezes her hand, feeling the bond between them grow stronger each day. The garden has become more than just a place of beauty. It is a symbol of their healing, a space where they can rebuild their relationship one sprout at a time. Stephanie continues to watch from the window, her heart filled with hope. She sees the transformation in both Greg and Jasmine, and she knows that despite the years of pain and separation, there is still a strong chance for their unique family to heal. The daffodils will soon stand tall and bright, a promise of new beginnings and the potential for a future filled with love and understanding. As the days turn into weeks and the weeks into months, Greg's presence has become a steady and comforting part of Jasmine's life. He continues to work hard at his new job, gaining the respect and trust of his colleagues and the young CEO. But it is in the garden, among the flowers, that he finds his true purpose. Each day spent with Jasmine is a step toward redemption, a chance to show her that he is committed to being the father she deserves. And so, under the watchful eyes of Stephanie, and amidst the vibrant blooms of the garden, Greg and Jasmine's relationship begins to flourish, just like the daffodils they have been nurturing together. Stephanie's prayers are slowly being answered, and she can't help but believe that just as the garden has found new life, so can their family.